Hi, everybody. This is Jimmy DeYoung. Welcome to Prophecy Today video. On a recent radio broadcast heard around the world on our internet site and across the United States on the Prophecy Today radio affiliates, I spoke with a former advisor to Prime Minister Ariel Sharon about the Israeli news website that had a headline which said the ingathering of the Jews to Israel today is a fulfillment of Bible prophecy. This is an exciting story. I'll have more on that in just a moment. But first, a potpourri of prophetic potentials will be revealed in the conversations that I had with our broadcast partners. And you can go to our website, prophecytoday.com. Prophecy Today Radio Network, PTRN, will have all of these interviews. You can listen to the entire interview. I'll give you just snippets of what we had to say. For example, I talked to Colonel Bob McGinnis in Washington, D.C., and we talked about Vice President Biden being in Iraq. Bob, that's key to understand politically what's happening, but prophetically as well.
Yeah, the Status of Forces Agreement worked out before President Bush left. And, of course, had August of this year as the deadline for the withdrawal of combatant forces, and that looks as if it's on schedule. And then, of course, by the end of 2011, the balance of our forces is supposed to be out of there. So I don't see how the Obama administration takes any credit for this, other than the fact that they have been in office since January of 2009. Biden's trip there was, of course, about politics, and he met with the right people, and they're trying to, I suppose, force a decision so that this country can be stable somewhat in the next few months.
Well, was he at all successful?
Well, that's hard to know. Behind the scenes, of course, we're doing a host of things. Our embassy, General DeYoung and others that are trying to encourage the Iraqis to find the right combination. He met with the right players. He met with the Shia leader, Aliyah. He met with Nuri al-Maliki, the people that won at the top of their two tickets sufficient numbers of parliamentary positions that if they came together and formed a coalition, they'd dominate the government. But it's hard to know at this point. No one has been able to discern Iraqi politics. Even the Iraqis have a hard time on that.
Colonel Bob McGinnis talking about Vice President Biden in Iraq. David Wilder lives and is a spokesman for the Hebron community, the Jewish community, oldest Jewish community in the history of the world. But this last week when we talked to him, he was not in Hebron. My good buddy David Wilder was in Nazareth. Can you believe that? Nazareth there to get a better understanding of the heritage of the Jewish people and the celebration of a special birthday. Talk to us about it, David.
Yeah, well, we're celebrating this year the 150th anniversary of the birth of Theodor Herzl, who is considered by some to be the father of modern Zionism. And this is also, we're also dealing with almost 100 years since the founding of the association which started redeeming the land in Israel in 1901. And this, basically, the tour today that we went through was sponsored by this organization, and we had a series of lectures dealing both with the history of the redemption of land, particularly up north here where we are now, and also gave us a very, what I would call, grim picture of what's happening in the area of the Galil in northern Israel, which is predominantly Arab today, and the attempts to try to purchase land from the Arabs here and to reset this area with Jews. It's been a fascinating day, and I'm sure that tomorrow also we're going to be hearing from a number of rabbis, and it's very enjoyable. Just get away for a couple of days.
David Wilder reporting from Nazareth. Dr. Rob Congdon is the man we look to when we want to understand what's going on in the European Union. The President of the United States this week, President Obama, made the statement the European Union has been pushing Turkey towards the east, in other words, towards the Islamic world. Rob, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I see that too. I continue to believe the Turkey ultimately will come into the European Union, but I almost wonder if it will come after some kind of official or unofficial split of Turkey. Remember, part of Turkey is in Europe, part of it is in Asia.
That's right.
The Middle East. So it's really an open question where it's headed right now. And the thing I have noticed is there has been, yes, just as you said, kind of a pushing it away from the European Union. And, of course, a lot of that has been due to Turkey's own efforts to move closer to the Muslim world. So we'll have to watch that closely. I'm still trying to analyze where it's going, but we know biblically it's involved in both.
Dr. Rob Congdon, the man who gives us the latest information about the European Union and how everything they do is setting the stage for Bible prophecy to be fulfilled. But I, once again, want to come back to that very interesting conversation I had with Ronnie Levy about Jews returning to the land. Ronnie, Jews are indeed still making their way back into Israel, aren't they?
Yes, they are, Jimmy. And, every aspect of Israel is fulfillment of biblical prophecy. And it is happening, and it is happening yesterday and today, and it will happen tomorrow. And thank God, Jews are still flowing into Israel, sometimes more, sometimes less, but thousands and thousands, sometimes in a week, sometimes in a month, are coming back to their homeland to build it. And I have no doubts in my heart that this will continue forever, despite of all the hardships.
Ronnie Levy, advisor to one of the prime ministers of the State of Israel, a report about a Israeli news website telling us that prophecy is in the process of being fulfilled. Prophetically, that's exactly what the word calls for. The book of Ezekiel, chapter 34. In that chapter, 18 times, God says, I will find my people where they have been scattered. They were scattered 2,000 years ago to the four corners of the earth. I will gather them in, put them in their land, feed them like a good shepherd would feed his flock in the land. Speaking of the land, chapter 36 of the book of Ezekiel, 35 times refers to the land, and basically it says they'll have 10 times what they have today. The reason they're going to have this land, chapter 36 of Ezekiel, verse 22, God says it's not because of you Jewish people, it's because of my holy namesake. When I could swear by nothing greater, I swore by my name that I would raise you in the last days. I would take you into your land. I would give you a state. Remember that prophecy there in chapter 37, the bones coming together, the flesh on the bones, and the breath of life being breathed into them? Well, those bones coming together, that would be the regathering of the Jewish people. How do I know? Because verse 11 of chapter 37 says the bones of the whole house of Israel. They'll be regathered. They will then be restored as a Jewish state. That's verse 8 of chapter 37 of the book of Ezekiel. And finally, they will be regenerated, come to know Christ as their Lord and Savior when he gives them the new covenant promised in Jeremiah 31:31. Well, we see the stage being set for all of these prophecies to be fulfilled. But remember, the next event, the rapture, could happen at any moment. Having said that, nothing left for me to say except let's keep looking up until...